everyone, welcome back today. And today we're having a great speaker we had about 3 years ago, and we're having him today. So without wasting much of our time, I'm just going to let me say Dr. David to actually I'm going to let him actually introduce himself, and before he introduces himself, and I want to say thank you to him publicly. At some point in my life, I was going through some stuff, and it was there, it was there really. I'm just going to say thank you very much. Thank you so much, sir. So you're welcome, sir.
Miracle, and everyone listening, joining us live, listening as a recording. It's a pleasure to be here. And well, what can I say? I believe we all owe Miracle a lot of thanks because people like Miracle, they're not many. And well, he asked me to introduce myself. My name is David, and last name is Dokun. If you look me up on socials, you know what I do. I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, and also a corporate trainer. I wear many hats. I've been a project manager for close to 2 decades now, and I've been fortunate to host and coach, you know, spending several thousands of hours in that process, just connecting with people. And I'm glad to be here. So back to you, Miracle.
Okay, sir, you're welcome. Thank you so much. So, today's topic is going to be more conversational. That's because I feel like there's a season. I don't want to say Africa alone, but I want to say globally where a lot of things are involving, and I think it's very important. So I was thinking who could be the person who could really speak on this subject, and I remembered, wow, okay, Mr. David. So we're just going to go straight to the points. So the first question I want to ask is, so in simple terms, what does it mean to what does this concept live uncertainty means in simple terms?
Thanks, Miracle. In simple terms, life's uncertainties would mean different things to different people depending on your context. For most people, it is, I'm not sure what's going to happen tomorrow. For other people, it could mean, I know a bit of what's coming. However, I don't have sufficient facts, sufficient data to take the next steps, so I'm grounded. In a nutshell, life's uncertainties would be any situation that puts you in a place where moving forward is challenging and even staying still is also painful. That's what I'll put life's uncertainties to be.
Wow, wow, thank you so much. And so, and the first question now, before that, it's I mean, how can we stop fear from controlling our choices when we feel uncertain about something?
Honestly, fear, we all have fears. Can we stop our fears? I believe that it's about rechanneling those fears. Every single day, except you're not trying something new, except you're not, you know, exerting yourself, you have a certain level of fears. It's what you do with those fears that happens to be what helps you move forward. So how do you stop, your fears from allowing you from getting in the way of you moving forward in a sense? And I just it came to me really that at the end of the day, fear and faith are opposing sides of the same coin. I read recently, Miracle and everyone listening, that the same energy that you put into, grooming your fears is the same energy that you use into building your faith. Because fear meditates, fear percolates, fear focuses on doubts, worry, weaknesses, negativity. So that's where fear lives. Whereas faith focuses on what's possible. Faith is channeling that same energy that you're using to fear about things that are not sure and using it to have an outlook. I was chatting with someone just this past week about my concept of hope, which is HOPE, hanging onto positive expectations, right? And to my mind, if you would ensure your fears don't stop you or control or stop your fear from controlling your choices when life feels uncertain, you will rechannel those fears into becoming, faith-based, which means what do you believe? What do you believe? What do you believe can work out? So it's rechanneling, making sure that you're focusing on the right things. In fact, as I'm talking now, I remember Miracle many years ago, I crafted a meaning for faith. Like I just gave you hope is HOPE, hanging on to positive expectations. A while back, I said faith is just forward advancement in total hope. That is it. So just replace your fears with faith. I'm not saying ignore it, because the things that you're bothered about won't go away. It's just rechanneling it. So it's just saying switch the spotlight from those things that you're worried about and start to imagine the possibilities that the things that you really desire will come to pass. And that way, your fears, even though they are there, they become significantly subsumed under the weight of your faith. So that way, they cannot control your choices anymore because you've intentionally channeled a lot of your energy. And we can't talk about energy enough. You've channeled a lot of your energy into this is what I believe, this is what I know will come to pass. So that way, your fear starts to shrink under the weight of your faith. That's what it is.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I think that topic of energy is something that I feel like oftentimes we do not really give preference to. And then this question, I was thinking about it, and I feel like it's something that a whole lot of young people, and I mean other different categories of people go through, which is how do we know the difference between real danger and an imagined worry?
Okay, I could give you, let me tell you a story. A couple years ago, I was, and I've shared this publicly on some of my platforms. I was in a place where my finances were dwindling. And now I'm helping you to explain the difference between real danger and imagined worry. I was in a place where I couldn't keep up with my rent. So at that juncture, someone can say, oh, don't worry, it's a worry. And someone can say, oh, there's danger. Now, put in context, what is the worst that could happen? Listen to this. What is the worst that could happen? For different people, at different times in your life, you have different circumstances. You might be married, you might have kids, you might not be single, you might not have kids, you might have a job, you might not have a job. You might have people depending on you, you might have direct debits coming out of your account. If you live in the West and your credit score is dependent on ensuring that you keep, your payments regular, what's at stake? So for me at that point, I had to weigh what could what's the worst that could happen if something goes wrong. And at that point, I told myself, if I continue to miss my rent payment, the worst that can happen is eventually, miracle, you know what's going to happen? What's going to happen? My family and I would get what? Evicted. Now, what's the worst that can happen after that is there's going to be shame, there's going to be, potential depression. Can my wife handle the outcome of that? Is she as solid in her mind enough to fully, manage that situation? Maybe she is, maybe she's not. Can my children understand if I explain to them? They were younger at the time. So for me, I put pieces together and I said, this is dangerous. I need to work on this. Is not just worry. I need to get my rent. And so I started to take steps. So I said all of that to say, for young people, middle-aged people, wherever you are listening to this, you want to ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen if a top event occurs? If this situation escalates or remains the same for a month, for a week, for a year. So you want to really assess, don't get into analysis paralysis, but have a good idea what can go wrong. Then you be able to have full appreciation whether you're just worrying because even if something goes wrong, yeah, not much, is at stake. However, if a lot is at stake, if it's health, for example, someone says you don't take your meds, you don't keep up with it, what could go wrong? You could die. And then, that's hallelujah. And then we'll say, till we meet again. So that is a long answer to a short question. However, people need to have the ability to have critical thoughts on what's at stake. And then that helps you to narrow down whether this is just imagined, worry or real danger. I hope that answers the question.
Perfectly well. I mean, this is a real, I mean, I think it's a real life story because, I mean, a lot of us really have something. And then for me, sometimes I think about it and I'm like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? But as much as I think about what's the worst that could happen, and I'm like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? But I mean, thank you so much for making this, for me to tell that story. And so the next question is, and I think this is actually very important, actually. When is it best to take a risk and when should we wait? And I think this is actually very critical when it comes to, I mean, young people like us, and then, I mean, like, where we are told you have to work hard, you have to do this, you have to do that, but we don't know when to take that risk or when to really wait.
Okay, you know what? The truth is this, and, I'm thinking to myself, there's a quote that comes to my mind right away. It says that ships, you know, that sail are safe in harbor, but that's not what ships are for. I'm paraphrasing that quote now, and I don't remember the person. You can always Google it. We're in the Google it world, right? As a human being, not taking a risk is a risk. Now, your question is when should I take a risk? When should I not? The reality is, it always, and I have a friend that's always saying everything is about context. I always say, what's the context? When you're about to take a risk, you ask yourself, what really do I have the appetite for? Wait for this miracle. And it looks like, I'm not sure if everyone can still hear me. What do I have the appetite for? Is the first thing you need to ask yourself. The second thing, which really is the foundation for all of this, for everyone listening, is I call it a concept. I share this when I also teach communication skills. Is what I call the SSS concept. The SSS concept, or the whatever framework, however you want to call it. What does that mean? Thank you, Loa Gomi. I see your comment. You can type for those who are live. You can type in SSS concept, and I'll tell you what that means. It's the framework I came up with many years ago, and it encompasses three key things. It encompasses three key things. So
Sorry.
that's that's okay. I was just
Mm,
explaining that to take risks sometimes you'd have to use what I call the SSS framework or SSS concept. And what that really is, the first one, the first S is your street sense. Street sense. And when you're about to take a risk, you'd you'd put together all the years that you have. SSS as in sugar, 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 not XXX, SSS. All the years you have in experience, all the years you have in exposure to travel, to places, to people, to platforms, people, places, platforms, whatever. all of that, and then your expertise, things that you're super good at, when you put all those together, and maybe you have a think tank or you have a little group that you're about to take this risk together, and you all put together all that experience, exposure, expertise, your education maybe, but not as much, and it helps you to have a rough idea of what the outcome could be, right? And street sense, miracle, and everyone listening, thank you, is is just like something that they say in local parlance. I say there's fight or there's no fight, you must always be guiding. I'm saying it in street language, right? Whether there's a fight or there's not a fight, you must always be guiding yourself. So that's your street sense. When you have the street sense built up, sharpened, it helps you to make decisions. That's the first S in the SSS. The second S, so that I kind of put this all together, I think this is going to help someone, is your sixth sense. Number six, sixth sense, your intuition, your gut feel. And when you're about to take a risk, remember, you've put your street sense, you've weighed in on it. Now combine that with your sixth sense, which is your gut feel, which is something, you know how, miracle, you want to make a decision and you get a feeling. I don't know why, but I feel like I should go right. I don't know why, but I think there's something on the left side of my tummy or something that is making me feel like. So it's your gut feel. Now, listen, the truth is, everyone has the ability to train their sixth sense the way AI is being trained nowadays. Because if you don't use it, you will lose it. Thank you to those typing, I really like that. If you don't use it, you will lose it. When you make a practice of leaning on your sixth sense occasionally, you may hit or miss. Eventually, you start to get it right. Your AI that you're training starts to be a little more accurate. That's your sixth sense. I love this final one, which is your spiritual sense. This is really lovely because for everyone on earth, and I put it out there, anyone who has a different opinion can bring it forward, but I believe that we are all spirit beings that have souls and living bodies. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience. That's my point of view. And there's lots of science, that backs that fact. Whether you have, your own Big Bang theory, or in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, or whatever your creation story is, we are all some sort of spiritual being connected in this cosmos having a human experience. That tells me that you have access to supernatural power. I wish I had time to tell you this. Your spiritual sense is the most accurate. In fact, I'm looking at my screen, I see 99% uploading. That's almost how accurate your spiritual sense is, if not 100%. Many times, now I share with people, and it's a really fine line between people who are fanatical about religion and people who are just people of faith who understand spiritual things. When you sharpen your spiritual sense, you're connected to your roots. I don't know what your faith is. I'm a Christian. I believe in God, and I connect to Him because I believe that He gives me direction. It's almost as a scripture that I recall that says that you'll hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk ye in it." It's very accurate. Say, go there, you will see a colt tied to a tree. It's very accurate. So those stories that I've heard from my, scriptural recollections and learnings, and I mean, on the sidebar, it was this framework that led me to go study for a diploma in theology, actually, from Kenneth Hagin Bible School. So I'm not just talking gibberish. I actually have a diploma in theology. Anyway, so your spiritual sense, if you sharpen it, will help you make accurate decisions, whether that's by listening to the Holy Spirit if you're a Christian, or by connecting to whatever source that you believe in. That way, you combine your spiritual sense, the last one I mentioned, with your sixth sense, the second one, and your street sense. You can use that to edge your bet in risk taking. Whether you're combining all three or using one per time, you're able to make informed decisions. And that's how you take risks. And that's a long answer, but I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, actually, that really helps. I mean, I think that really helps, and that's very practical. That I mean, coming from the fact that you actually even have a diploma in theology, and this brings us to, I think this is really like this is a lot something that is very important as well to is it how do we stay patient when results seem slow, unclear? And I think this is something that we go through a lot.
It's tough and funny. I have a friend who, he's invested a lot in a business. I'll just call it a business, I won't mention it. And I was talking to him yesterday, and he said, David, you motivational speakers keep telling us to be patient. And being patient is not easy. I said, but you can see that things are shaping up. It's going to happen. And then we went along the lines of, this patient dog eating the fattest bone. And we joked around that that's if the patient dog does not die, waiting for the bone. Because the patient dog is, hungry. Anyhow, I digress, but I'm saying that to say there are a lot of things that you can lean on when things don't look like it and you're like, how long? How will I be patient? How do I hang in there? There are many anchors. The first thing I would ask is, do you even have a strong conviction about the outcome that you're hoping for? Do you have a strong why? I once heard someone say, when the why gets stronger, and I believe it might be Jim Rohn. It might be Jim Rohn. He said, when the why gets stronger, the how gets easier. Let me say that again. When the why gets stronger, the how gets easier. So many of us want to know how. You have to first ask yourself, what's the why? Now, am I super convinced of this why? Do I even know beyond any doubt, right, that this thing is, what I should be doing? That's on the one hand. The other part of it, and I like this one a lot, is, in the process of trying to hang in there, you also have to ask yourself, do you have the right, reminders around you? So by reminders, what you focus on expands. I heard that from T. Harv Eker many years ago. When things don't look like it, what do you see that helps you to stay in the game? What do you see around you that just reminds you that, okay, this is going to work? And as part of what you see, you're also asking yourself, do you have the right set of people? I talked about energy earlier. Staying in the hunt when things are tough also includes having people that have the right energy around you. They're the ones that will tell you, hey, look, you're on the right path. You're on the right path. Just keep going. So when you have the right energy mix in your circle, it might be a small circle, but they're just, giving you that pump, that, you are on the right path, you have that opportunity to stay in the hunt, right? You have that opportunity to stay in the hunt. So to my mind, ensuring that you have that strong why, knowing, that things are going to work, is one way to do it. Ensuring as well that you know people, one, two, maybe three only, that would say, Miracle, David, Dio, Kenny, Jenny, whoever, go this route. And then maybe I add one just for effect. One more is remembering that life is a process. I remember many years ago that I read, uh, maybe it was John Maxwell, that said everything worthwhile is uphill. Everything worthwhile is uphill. So when you're on a journey and things are not looking like it, you say, everything worthwhile is up. You're on a journey. So you know that you are getting somewhere. You remind yourself that another quote, I can't remember who said that, this one said he said the elevator to success is broken. You have to use the stairs. The elevator to success is broken. You have to, it's when you hear people say to you, Miracle, it took me 20 years, it took me 30 years, it took me 10 years to be an overnight success. That's what it means. It means it's not a journey that just started. If you see someone that shows up today and they don't have a story, a backstory, then people start to ask questions. What are you not telling us? This is not how it works. We already know by experience that it's a journey. So remember, it's a process. Focus on your why, focus on your convictions, have the right energy mix around you. If you do those three things, you are more likely than not to give up. You're more likely to keep going. You're more likely to, press on until you get that result. It's not going to, it sounds simple, right? But I know that it's not easy, right? That would help anyone who is thinking of how to navigate. I hope that helps as well. Back to you, Miracle. And I can see that some people are commenting. Miracle, if you can hear me, so I take it back to you for your next question. Yeah. Oh, I cannot
Good,
hear
good,
you.
good.
Okay, now I can.
Can you hear me now? So sorry. That was a network problem. Okay, so I mean, there is something that I wanted to ask, which I think is very important, and is oftentimes I discovered that. So for me, I discovered that sometimes when I was going through moments in my life where I felt like I didn't know what to do, at that moment I was developing habits that I felt were really bad. And so the next question is, what types of habits help us stay strong when noticing certain? I mean, are they really habits that can really help us stay strong when we feel like something is not certain?
Well, we've already established that many of the paths that we take to success will be filled with uncertainty, might be rough and tough. Habits that can help you stay strong. I'll give it to you as direct as I can. Many people have found journaling to be effective. When you pour out your
Mhm,
thoughts on
mhm,
paper, on your digital notes, whatever, it just helps you to have that mental clarity. People have found that effective. Meditation, people have found meditation effective. You just go visualize, you just zone out and you get in a state of peace where you just go. So if you're listening to this now, can you take a deep breath and then exhale? People who meditate have found that to be also effective in helping them to, stay anchored. That's a habit that gives people peace. I'm coming to some other ones. I know the one you want to hear, but especially some set of people want me to mention this one, and I'll mention it. Another thing you can do, right? So I mentioned journaling, I mentioned meditating, which includes visualization, seeing the kind of future that you want. Like I said, in a session I recently anchored, that you cannot feature in a future that you don't picture. I just like the way that sounds. You cannot feature in a future that you don't picture. Visualization together with meditation works. How about affirmations? Affirmations, which are also confessions. What are you saying? Sometimes the words that you say, well, scratch that. Many times the words that you say go on to create the life that you live. Because words were used to frame the world that we live in now. Okay? So in case you're a person of faith as well, you probably have that that recollection that words frame your world. So again, affirmations, confessions also help. And then I would say, depending on what you're going through at the time, a habit of reading the right material, listening to the right audio material would also help to keep you, centered. So I've given you a few now. I'll give you one more, but let me recapitulate. I started with saying, yes, you can journal, you can meditate, which includes, visualization. You can also, what was the next thing that I mentioned now? You can also make affirmations, knowing that your words are so powerful, they can create your world. And then, of course, I like this one a lot. Meditation and visualization, right? They're together, and then you can choose to make affirmations and confessions, then your words create your world. And I like this one. You can pray, depending on what you believe. If you're an atheist, well, that's another kettle of fish, right? Maybe whatever you believe. But you can choose to pray, right? Because being connected, as I mentioned earlier, with spirit beings that have souls, live in bodies, and we're having a human experience. So if you pray, depending on your faith, it also bolsters, strengthens you on a day-to-day basis. There's a habit that can help. So all these things put together are habits that help you find peace. Because to my mind, when you're going through a storm, what you need is peace. What you need is assurance, right? Maybe not like Davido's assurance. Or you won't mind that kind of Porsche or Bentley. That's not bad, right? But you just need some inner peace, inner peace to keep going. Okay, that's my.
Well, thank you, thank you so much, sir. So it's not that individual assurance, basically. So, I mean, we've come to the end of the section, but before we let you go, Mr. David, I want to ask you two questions. The one before the last one is what's one thing you wish everyone knew about handling life uncertainty from your level of experience and from your exposure with different areas of life? What's something you wish anyone knew about handling life uncertainty?
One thing I wish everyone knew is something that I shared recently with a friend. And it's this: the fact that tough times never last, but tough people do.
Mm,
I'll say that
mm,
again. Tough times
mm.
never last, but tough people do. It's the title of a book by Dr. Robert Schuller, which is a book that I recommend that people grab and read. And I also layered that with a quote, which I shared with someone again recently, that the willow knows what the storm does not, that the power to outlive harm surpasses the power to inflict harm. I wish everybody knew that no matter what your problem is, it has an end date. It really has a lifespan. Unfortunately for some people, that lifespan kinda would, coincide with the end of their life. But that's not always the case. For many people, there's a place where your struggles, kinda give way to your next level. And that, to my mind, is a mindset, because everyone listening to this is on a journey to experience a mind shift that would help them have a life shift. Because you always go from a mind shift to a life shift. And having that mind shift that, hey, look, this is only for a season. When you have that anchored deeply, you keep going, because you just know it's one day less, it's 1 hour less, it's one day less, and it's gonna come. It's gonna come.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And now the last question is going to be for I mean, and I think we're at the time in That's this question is going to be specific. Yeah, it's going to be specific, and that's because I'm aware of a lot of challenges we're experiencing as a nation here in Nigeria and in West Africa as a whole, where we have politics really that are affecting the likes of young people, and then somehow, the young people that are being affected by circumstances really sometimes do not really have hope of what life will look like or what life will feel like, with the challenges that are going on right now. And the last question is more specific, which is, what words of encouragement would you give a young person in Nigeria, in West Africa, and Africa as a whole that are going through tough times and hard times right now? What's words of encouragement you wanted to have leave here with that, okay, regardless of what you're going through, this is it.
The the biggest piece of encouragement I can share with people listening to this who are experiencing difficulty in Nigeria, West Africa right now is look around you. There's one person who, in spite of everything happening, is still succeeding. That is assurance that you too can succeed. Look around you. There's somebody who doesn't have the same level of education, the same level of exposure, the same level of experience that you have, that is doing a little better. That is assurance that you too can. And regardless of what the situation is today, you too can and you will break through if you find one person, two persons that are already a few chapters ahead of you, and you bind yourself to them like this and you watch their step. I guarantee you it will happen for you too. I know because I've seen it happen for people in and around my space. And I know that yours will not be an exception. If you take those small, significant steps, your story will soon switch from sour to sweet. That's my word of encouragement.
Thank you so much, Mr. David. And I want to say thank you everyone who has joined this section. I really want to say a baby thank you for everyone who's joined. And special thanks to Mr. David. And I want to do something. So I want everyone to go join to follow Mr. David. And I think he is someone that I've known for a while. And I'm going to put that. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to put. Let me see. Let me see. Okay. So okay, good. So I think his Instagram name is I am David Dokun. So I think it's someone. Yeah. Good. So I think it's someone you should follow, guys. And for young people like me who also want inspiration to be inspired, I think somebody you want to follow. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Same here, sir. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for joining as well, too.